So everybody, welcome to session 2.4, Lessons from South Africa and the Continent. Today we have scheduled 6 speakers, but I see only 5. So for now, I've instructed, 12 minutes, give a lot of space to have a discussion as people come in. That's the best part of this, okay? Just a reminder for the presenters, if you want to be on the Zoom, you need to sit here, because here is the only camera, okay? Yeah, so right now, again, we have people joining in the lobby. So I'm going to introduce Amos Barkai on behalf of Amos. Yes. Thank you. What's your name again?
Bradley.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am sure you can see my slides. Now, as many have said, data is the new oil. And in fisheries science and fisheries management, it indeed is a bedrock, complementing all other fisheries management efforts. The solution I'm presenting today not only captures data, but provides an eye-friendly and intuitive analysis package for everyday small-scale fishers at minimum cost. Now, I am Bradley Kumalo. I'm just trying to move the slides. Just give me a moment. There we go. So I am Bradley Kumalo, and I'm presenting to you on behalf of OlracMDDL. Now, OlracMDDL was founded by Drs. Amos Barkai and Mike Berg back in 1989. It has a global footprint with headquarters in Cape Town, South Africa, and in Lisbon, Portugal. The company also has partners across the globe. And as you can see, we've got New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom. We're also in the USA and Canada. And we are also in South Africa. And we have been involved in researching and developing data collection, reporting, and management applications and solutions, primarily for the commercial fishing sector. Now, our products and solutions at present are being used by hundreds of fishing vessels across the globe. Now, what does the solution look like? Well, this becomes, quite a pertinent undertaking in the modern era of fisheries stock depletion, fishing outcomes uncertainties, and the supply chain disruptions that we're continually experiencing. At the same time, we have modern day technologies that we are trying to bring in so that we can try and resolve those challenges. So small-scale fishers tend to struggle with reporting their catches in a simple, effective, accurate, and affordable manner. And they present challenges to sustainability in that they have regional characteristics and specificities that sometimes cannot be put in a box, and they need to be dealt with on a single case basis. Now, with that said, there's a popular adage that says garbage in, garbage out. So until we capture data at the source accurately and timely, the analysis outcomes might not be as great as we would have anticipated. They might not be as informed as we would have loved. And so to this end, OlracMDDL has developed something pretty exciting, which is a customizable and dynamic suite of solutions, which includes a dynamic data logger that one uses at sea or while fishing, and a dynamic data manager that one may use onshore. And that means there is a team onshore that's able to have real-time visibility of what is happening with the team offshore. So our system allows fishers to collect information on just about anything, bringing in the IoT, Internet of Things, IoP, the Internet of People, and the IoD, the Internet of Data, into one central port to help small-scale fishers. What does this solution look like? Well, we have an MDDL, our mobile solution, which is for small-scale fishers. What I must say is that previously, our solutions have continued to be used for analysis across industries globally. And the electronic system that we previously had primarily focused on Windows machines and that sort of thing, limiting the effectiveness of our solutions to fishers who might be using smaller vessels that cannot necessarily have a Windows laptop or some form of rugged laptop on board. And so enter our MDDL. And this is a mobile dynamic data logger, a standalone mobile application that can operate on most modern units using whether it's Android or iOS. Now, it was developed to streamline and simplify the collection, the reporting of operational fishing data. The OlracMDDL completely removes the need for paper logbooks, providing room for customization to cater for specific fishing methods and operational processes as per the fisher's needs. And what I want to do now is to just quickly go through some of the capabilities that we've incorporated into our solution. So you've got the MDDL, which is a mobile application. You sign up and set up your account. You go ahead and fill in all the relevant details. Now, with those details, you can then connect into what we call our OlracMDDL monitor that's able to manage your fleet of applications or your fleet of vessels, multiple applications behind one screen. So what do? We collect trip information. We divide each trip into unique fishing operations. We literally follow the entire fishing operation in a logical manner. Now, when you look at the screenshots that you have in front of you, you'll notice we've got multiple fishing methods, and that application allows you to select what it is that we are doing. For our example, we will use percent, and so you can enter the information, your GPS coordinates, date and time automatically connect based on your phone inputs, and we can then move into the actual fishing activity at sea. What do we collect at this time? Well, we will collect data related to your set, data related to other weather elements, data related to your target species, and everything else that you are doing operationally at that time. What's important to note is that I'm giving you fixed screens, but when we developed this solution, or when we developed it in a dynamic manner so that as a small-scale fisher, you can specify what you would like to achieve, and we can then customize the solution so that it fits your organization. Now, what you will notice as well is that we've included data validations. So what does not make sense from a fishery science perspective, we have taken care of to try and make the application as error-free as possible. Moving on to the next slide, we can now capture our catch, and with our catch, we can specify what catch we caught, we specify the weights, we can specify products, but what's also important, especially for sustainability, fishery sustainability, is the ability to then capture marine life. Did we see any dolphins as an example? Did we see any turtles? And if the response is yes, at what stage were they, and this can all be customized to meet your compliance needs. It can be customized to meet your business needs. The idea is that the application is fully customizable to meet your specific needs. And so you can also include environmental data to say, what is the weather like? Is it a full moon? What are the sea conditions? Now, this becomes important as we stated, we said garbage in, garbage out. We want to build intelligent fisheries. We want to build sustainable small-scale fishing. And by being able to capture this information, we can then in future look back and say, hey, this is what we caught while the weather was like this, during this season, while the entire environment was looking like this. We are moving away from an instance where we write on paper, somebody else comes to capture the information, somebody else tries to compile everything and put it together by having a one-stop shop that gives us the information that we need. Now, our mobile application also allows us to have some tracking functionality. And you can see those beautiful tracks while we are fishing and at the end of the fishing event. Now, we can know if we were fishing within an MPA, which we mustn't be doing, our mobile application is able to throw out alerts and tell us that, hey, you are entering an MPA as long as that data has been fit into the application accordingly. This becomes imperative, the communication aspect of the solution, because cost is a factor. What we have done is connect models from iSky onto our application. That means it costs 10% of the normal cost of sending whatever reports you would have wanted to send across at any one time. And so whether the reports are 2 kilobytes, 1 kilobyte, it literally costs 10% because of our connectivity with that iSky system, and this being available today as we speak. Again, because of that cost reduction, we now allow that the data that has been captured may then be transferred into a system onshore with the onshore team to have a look at what the fishing activities look like. So we might say that, look, there are 4 small-scale fishers who have gone out. And then as an association, we want to keep tabs of what's going on. And so the association then says, we are going to use what we term the DDM monitor to have a look at all the different vessels. And so we can see what fish has been caught. We can do some form of analysis from this. And I think the major take from this is that all of this is happening in real time. Now, I'm just going to conclude in just a second. And I've got a beautiful picture of the team that has made this happen. The team that includes fisheries scientists, that includes commercially inclined people, that includes machine learning experts, AI experts, and all the fancy things of the 4th industrial revolution. And so to conclude, finding ways to improve data collection, data transfer and analysis will contribute to the sustainability of fishing resources, but also to the efficiency and competitiveness of the people working in the industry. And so this OlracMDDL solution provides users with a single error-free data capturing tool, as well as a convenient medium to send electronic reports of day-to-day operational fishing data. The application is fully customizable depending on clients' needs, and thus is able to ensure that geographical locations for fishing are adhered to. This is a touchscreen application, user-friendly, designed to maximize automatic data capturing limiting errors, because of manual entries. It is intuitive, it is easy on the eye, and it literally follows the fishing operation flow. And friends, this is what we have at OLSPS. Here are the details for further information, and we will be here, I will be here in case there are any more questions in this slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have Sunday Imbwae. Broke your fancy glass.
Thank you very much. My name is Sunday Imbwae. I'm a student at the Rhodes University. So this afternoon, I want to share with you experiences and lessons that we have brought together to draft a systematic review paper. So in this systematic review paper, we'll be sharing with you governance issues in inland fishery, especially in a transboundary fishery that straddles across 5 countries. So our focus is on the Kavango Transfrontier conservation area. Now, Kavango Transfrontier conservation area is an area that was established to manage natural resources that are shared among 5 countries, 5 partner countries, which includes Angola, Botswana, Zambia, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. So in this area, it's not only the fisheries, the resources that are managed, but we also have forestry resources, we also have wildlife resources. But our focus in our study will be on the fisheries resources, because fisheries resources provides livelihoods through income and employment opportunities. There are so many people, but what about thousands of people that drive their livelihood from small-scale fishery in this area. And so initiatives were proposed to manage these resources amongst the partner countries that are found in this area, which have already met, that are already mentioned. So these are just the photos that are just showcasing some of the activities of livelihoods that are in the region. So the leadership outline would be like as follows: the background, the general overview, the objectives, the transboundary fisheries management in the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier conservation area. You can see, oh, sorry. Okay, there you are, sorry. So that is the background of the presentation outline of this presentation. We start with the background of the study. Then you go to the general overview of KAZA, and that bullet to just showcase the coverage area itself. Then you look at the objective of the study. Then you look at the management issues, the dilemma, the prospects for the fisheries management in the region. So that is the overview of Kavango-Zambezi river system, which is straddled across 5 countries. You see, it's quite a vast area. Some people have argued that actually it's the size of France. So the objective of the study was to review the governance and management of So we are there. Yeah, the objectives is to review the governance and management of fisheries in the KAZA region. And then this information is used to examine challenges affecting the implementation of the transboundary fisheries management in the region, and then outline possible interventions to optimize the utilization of the fishery resources for food security and biodiversity conservation. Generally, it is acknowledged that inland fisheries are basically utilized for food security. So, being a socio-ecological system, it is characterized with a lot of problems that includes overfishing, it includes the introduction of invasive species, governance issues itself, and the climate change effects, which are common now in the sense that they are altering the ecology of this socio-ecological system. Those are some of the invasive species that are characterized the Kavango-Zambezi conservation area, such as the largemouth bass, the Oreoplops niloticus, the red crawfish, which is popularly known as the crayfish. These and the many other challenges affecting the production of fisheries activities in the region. Now, the paper argues that the implementation of transboundary fisheries in the area has largely failed. The different management approaches and policies that are used in all the 5 partner countries are incompatible. Now, based on these arguments, you realize that each country in this area has got its own approach. But basically, the management approach that is being used or that is applied generally based on classic management approaches, where people are using the input and the control mechanisms to manage the resources. Now, with this management approach, many people have argued that it is incongruent with the tropical fisheries because it doesn't account for certain environmental factors that are determinant of productivity in this area. And in some cases, it hinders the effective utilization of the fisheries for food security in the area. That on its own is a huge debate that has not yet been settled. The issue of classic management approaches in the tropical fishery. So when we talk about the different management systems that are there, they are in such a way that partner countries do not have specific management approaches that are done at similar time. What I mean here is that the aspect of enforcement are done at different intervals, which jeopardize the transboundary fisheries management. For example, they are not the periods of implementing management activities are not done at the same time. And so these activities, when they are done in such a manner, they promote free-riding activities. And because of that, people are unable to, local beneficiaries are unable to settle well in the management activities. Because of these differences, we introduced the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries as the lens to try and see how best we can harmonize the management approaches in the area to ensure efficiency in the utilization and accessibility of the resources for food security and biodiversity. Now, when you look at the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries, it's a worldwide guideline for management of the resources that straddles across various countries. It provides for precautionary approaches, and it also allows participation in the management of fisheries resources. When you look at the partner countries that are involved in the conservation area, they do not have policies that outline the roles and responsibilities of stakeholder participation in the area. And this has made the management of the resources quite difficult. In some countries, we realize that the management of fisheries resources actually is done under the auspices of the wildlife authorities, whose philosophy are not incongruent with management of freshwater fisheries. They are skewed towards wildlife management. For example, when you look at Botswana and Zimbabwe, the management aspect of the fisheries are in the divisions of wildlife. And these philosophies in this area are for terrestrial animals. And because of that, fisheries is managed with the tourism industry instead of livelihood. So, FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries outlines the management of fishery areas in the for both the marine and freshwater fisheries. So our study was aiming at giving us a guideline on how best we can do this management effectively. So the key message is that policy, the standard for the policy implication, and it illustrates the need for fisheries sector policy to guide governance processes in the management of inland fisheries resources, the KAZA region. Now, current utilization of the fisheries resources is often complicated by the existence of multiple authorities and the interest groups, often with the competing agendas. As a result, the economic potential of these water bodies is unknown and often grossly undermined. If these fisheries resources are managed sustainably, inland fisheries can contribute to the attainment of the SDGs and biodiversity conservation area. I want to thank my sponsor, Department of Fisheries in Zambia, and the AGB for making this study to appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you for being on tonight. Okay, so we will have opportunity for questions and discussion after, but now I'd like to go to Martin Purves. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, and just thank you to the organizers for inviting me to participate in this very exciting conference. So I'll be talking about a new initiative called Community Catch, which is a market-based standard for sustainable small-scale fisheries. And firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the Managing Director of the International Polar Line Foundation. We're a small NGO or charity that work with small-scale tuna fisheries that use low-impact fishing methods, such as pole line, hand line, and pole fishing methods. We're a global organization working in many different countries, and we work closely with market partners as well, from retailers to brands, processors throughout the supply chain. But most importantly, our work is focused on the fishers and the communities connected to those fishers. And we promote socially responsible and environmentally sustainable tuna fisheries. We do this by working with projects on the water, as well as giving small-scale fishers a voice at the regional fisheries management organizations, which are decision-making bodies for highly migratory stocks such as tuna. So the mission of IPLF is to empower responsible fisheries, which give back to the seas and the people that depend on them. And our vision is a world with thriving fisheries that work in balance with nature by catching one fish at a time. It's for you to show on the screen. Thank you. And this is an example of some of the boats that we work with, or the fisheries that we work with. These are some of the boats in Kenya, in Indonesia, Maldives, and the Azores. So the scale of these fishing vessels are quite different. In some cases, it would be a one-man wooden canoe that goes out and fishes high-quality yellowfin tuna. In other cases, with the larger pollen line boat, they might go further offshore. But basically, they're all small-scale fisheries competing against highly industrial fisheries. Tuna is a global commodity traded worldwide, and small-scale fisheries struggle in some cases to compete with some of the industrialized fisheries, particularly on the high seas and offshore areas. And an initiative we recently launched called Reimagine Tuna really asked the question: how can tuna safeguard people, planet, and prosperity? When we look at the idea of sustainable development is envisioned under the Sustainable Development Goals, where no one is left behind, we really need to understand what the best impact is in terms of resource exploitation. In many cases, coastal states rent out their resources to large industrial fisheries and lose any benefit or income from those, while they might have struggling fishermen in those countries. So that brings me to Community Catch. As I said, it's an initiative that is focused specifically on small-scale fisheries. We've seen that market-based incentives can create change, change on the water. I haven't told you a bit more about myself, but I spent about 3 years of my life out on fishing vessels in all parts of the world as a fisheries observer, and also as a scientist involved in scientific surveys and also tagging studies. And I also worked as a fisheries manager at the fisheries department here in South Africa. And at some stage, before I joined IPLF, I set up and managed the MSC, the Marine Stewardship Council regional program in Africa, and managed that for 7 years. So I've got a good understanding of some of these standards. And I think that's important to understand that there are certainly market benefits when we look at these market-based incentives. We do, however, have to be careful that one size doesn't necessarily fit all shoes. And when we look at small-scale fisheries, often what is not recognized is the important social contribution that small-scale fisheries make, and the importance of these fisheries in communities. So schemes have been developed for large and small-scale fisheries, but often what happens is that the focus is on the larger fisheries, often the higher volume types of fisheries, and that is often the root of the problem. Small-scale fisheries are not specifically accommodated under some of these schemes, and that could lead to problems around accessibility. So Community Catch is focused on small-scale fisheries specifically, and the idea is that it would be accessible and affordable without sacrificing credibility. And that's very important when we talk about market-based incentives, that these programs need to be credible. It's also important to recognize that environmental sustainability is one component of what should be recognized as market-based, but also very important social responsibility in these types of fisheries. And again, unfortunately, that is not always covered by all the existing standards, and is a gap when we look at how this operates for small-scale fisheries. So community catch is a process that's initiative that is still under development, but the idea would be to have operationalized benchmarks that are specific to small-scale fisheries. It is grounded in the FAO codes of conduct for responsible fisheries, and also very important, the small-scale fishery guidelines that were adopted in the FAO. And I already mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals and the idea of no one left behind. Now, when we talk about incentives and how the market reacts to the support from the market, we really need to ensure alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals as well. So standard setting norms and community catch is specifically focused on small scale wild capture fisheries, doesn't cover aquaculture. But if we look at existing norms and some of the phrases that are used, like prepare policies, have procedures, conduct risk assessments, carry out internal audits, maintain records, those are all heavy data requirements. Those become very onerous for small-scale fisheries. And if we do ask too much, it's just not going to happen, and that presents potential barriers to trade, which is called technical barriers to trade. And specifically when we look at SDG 14B and the need for access to markets and fishing opportunities for small-scale fisheries, we need to ensure that we don't put barriers in place that make it even more difficult for small-scale fishery to access markets. So part of the process would also be to look at developing a digital platform for community catch for the assessments. It is basically, to a large extent, self-assessment that happens. Data inputs from the fishery or consultants or people that work with those fisheries, and then a component of third-party evaluation to ensure that that data that's been input on the digital platform can be verified and is credible. And part of this process is also to ensure that assistance is provided throughout the assessment process. In many cases, standards expect the fisheries to do a lot in terms of the heavy lift and the complexity of those standards, or if not, it comes at a huge cost. And it's also very important to ensure that the standard remains cost effective or affordable for small-scale fishery. So on-site auditing can be very expensive, often doubtful as a utility. What will be trialed under community catch is also looking at worker voice surveys to provide evidence of labor practices, for instance, and also ensure that data is compatible with some of the, or integrated with some of the data apps. Seafood Map is an initiative that is developing as a storytelling initiative for small-scale fisheries, and also compatibility of that would be important. It would include multi-gear fisheries, multi-species fisheries. All of those are common in small-scale fisheries. And as I said before, we need to ensure that these small-scale fisheries are supported throughout the process. There's many problems, but sometimes those problems could be regional specific. So there's also a regional specific focus would happen with community catch and ensure that that assistance is provided throughout the process. So this process, as I said, is still underway, and we gladly invite anyone who is interested in becoming part of the initiative to contact us. And there's the contact details of Andy Hoff, who has is part of the process and has wide-ranging experience in standard development. So thank you very much.
One you want, correct? Click the, yeah, that's the presentation.
You have it here. Okay, good. That's very helpful. All right, next we have Aaron's report.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Gordon from the Marine Stewardship Council. And I'm here to talk to you today about the work that we do to support the environmental sustainability ambitions of small-scale fisheries. Challenges faced by small-scale fisheries are very complex, and this means that there's no one solution. Instead, we believe that multiple approaches are necessary and should be implemented through partnerships between governments and non-state actors and fishers. So in this presentation, I'd like to discuss the MEC's contribution to supporting the environmental sustainability ambitions of small-scale fisheries. So just for those who don't know, MEC is an international non-profit organization. We were created 25 years ago in collaboration with WWF and Unilever, when it suddenly became apparent that globally important fish stocks were being depleted and some in fact collapsing. So the vision developed for the MSC was to help protect the oceans and to ensure that seafood was still available for future generations to catch, sell, and eat. And the approach that was adopted to achieve this vision was at the time innovative, and it was to use market incentives to encourage fisheries to operate sustainably. So basically the MSC program would provide a mechanism for fisheries to demonstrate that they're operating sustainably. And those sustainable fisheries would then receive an eco-label to enable them to display on their product, and consumers and market actors would reward those sustainable fisheries by preferentially choosing purchasing products that carry the eco-label. So this creates a virtuous cycle and increases the number of sustainable fisheries, helping to protect the productivity and health of the oceans. But how do you define sustainable fishing? So for the MSC, a sustainable fishery not only fishes on a healthy stock, but also minimizes the environmental impacts of its operation, and it has to have effective management. So this is reflected in the MSC's fisheries standard as 3 principles, and under that there are 25 performance indicators which fisheries are scored against and have to pass in order to be certified as sustainable. So I do want to acknowledge that the social and economic sustainability are a very important part of fishery operations, but the MSC is at its core an environmental standard setter, and that is what we focus on, and that is where our knowledge and expertise lies. So independence and credibility are a very important part of MSC. The certification is third party, meaning it's undertaken by independent auditors called conformity assessment bodies. And the credibility of the fishery standard and certification process is maintained by ensuring it's science-based and collaboratively updated with inputs from a wide range of stakeholders. And that's, it meets the international best practices by aligning with relevant FAO codes and guidelines, ICL Alliance codes of good practice and relevant ISO guidelines. It also meets the requirements of the Global Sustainable Seafood Initiative. So this approach has been very successful, with the latest figures from the MSC annual report showing that fisheries in 59 countries engage with the MSC. This is about 15% of all wild catch, marine wild catch is MSC certified. It's sort of just over 500 fisheries with 2% in assessments, so around about 90 fisheries. So this equates to about 15 million tons of marine catch. And these data show the extent of the engagement of small-scale fisheries and those from developing regions with the MSC program, just under 100 fisheries engaged with the MSC from both categories. While all fisheries can face challenges in demonstrating environmental sustainability of their operations, fisheries in developing economies and those operating at a small scale are more likely affected. And this is because the auditing requirements for ensuring credible sustainability are data heavy. Very often these fisheries have limited scientific data enabling stock assessments or catch data, indicating the impacts on target or bycatch species, or spatial data on where they're fishing. In addition, fisheries governments in developing economies is often demonstrably not demonstrably effective. And also there's limited access to technical expertise on how to improve fishery practices. So to support these fisheries facing these types of challenges, the MSC has developed the Pathway to Sustainability program. And the program provides improvement tools and capacity building training to support the fisheries through a framework called the Pathway Project. So after making improvements, some of the fisheries may decide to demonstrate their sustainability by undertaking the full assessment against the MSC fisheries standard and take advantage of the market incentive the MSC eco-label provides. However, there are other fisheries who may not choose to be certified, but they can still use our tools and frameworks to become more sustainable. And they do this to derive the social and environmental benefits that sustainable fishery provides. So overall, the Pathway Project can help to create an enabling environment to drive wider sustainable fisheries management and improve the general fisheries governance of the area in which the project is taking place. Time's too short to describe the various tools available, but they include capacity building modules and various improvement and fisheries management templates. So in the time left, I'd like to focus on pathway projects. So pathway projects are composed of 4 distinct stages. In the first stage, there's information on fishing practices, stock status, landings, and trade are used to map the fisheries in an area where the project is located. In stage 2, selected fisheries are pre-assessed by independent assessors against the MSC's fishery standard to identify the areas that need improving. And in stage 3, those stakeholders then use that pre-assessment to develop action plans by collaboratively identifying ways to improve fishery practices towards sustainability. And in stage 4, action plans are then implemented by stakeholders through fishery improvement projects. So throughout the process, it's very important that there's multi-stakeholder participation, collaboration, and this is vital for building relationships and trust and improving the knowledge sharing between all stakeholders. There are 19 pathway projects undertaken by the MSC. This graphic shows those currently active, and I'll describe 2 of them today: Fish for Good in South Africa and the Southwest Indian Ocean Octopus Project called SWIOSER. So for Fish for Good in South Africa, we obtained funding from Dutch Postcode Lottery, and the objective was to help optimize the management of selected South African fisheries for the sustained benefit of all. And for more information, you can access the website that's mentioned there and chat to me afterwards if you would like that link. So this diagram just describes the project in more detail according to those 4 stages. So 62 fisheries were identified, 15 were selected for mapping, and an advisory group selected 9 fisheries for pre-assessment, and 5 of those were selected for action plan developing using the MSC's template to ensure that those actions specifically address the gaps in the pre-assessment. And in stage 4, 3 fisheries have chosen to enter fishery improvement projects. So the outcome of this process is a lot of knowledge generation about the fisheries. All the relevant data on their operations is compiled, analyzed by fisheries experts, and pre-assessment reports, and actions need to improve the sustainability. The actions need to improve the sustainability of the operations are detailed in the action plans, and all of this information is provided to the fisheries. So 2 of those fisheries, the albacore and the mussel, have gone through into fishery improvement projects. and have been received funding from the MSC's Ocean Stewardship Fund. Regarding the East Coast rock lobster FIP, we're particularly pleased that our partner WWF was successful in leveraging the MSC's investments in this fishery to receive further funding from NORAD and WWF France to work with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environments to strengthen local fisheries management structures and improve data capturing by the fishery through the provision of digital data capture devices. And this will complement further work that we undertake through Fish for Good funding to support compliance with permit conditions. So this exemplifies the benefits that collaborative relationships in fishery improvement space can achieve. So the second pathway project is the SWIRSEF project, and the countries involved in that project are along the east coast of Africa and those Indian Ocean islands depicted in the graphic. So I just want to describe this graphic quickly here, because what you have is you have a collection of different pre-assessments in terms of units of assessment. Those are in the columns, and the performance indicators according to the pre-assessments in the rows. And when one has pre-assessment results from a number of fisheries in the region, you can combine these results to find common issues that need addressing. And in this slide, you can see the description of the issue on the left and the encircled performance indicator it refers to on the right. So I can't go into detail for all of them, but basically it allows one to focus on the areas that need improving in the whole region. Oh, sorry, I've been pressing the wrong button. Oh, there we go.
So can you deliver some key messages while I switch the presentation?
Sure, I can do that. In conclusion then, the benefits that we've seen for implementing pathway projects is that they're pretty successful at attracting external funding to support those fisheries wanting to improve their environmental sustainability. And these projects are useful at highlighting specific challenges that the selected fisheries face and identifying which improvement actions should be implemented. So in these projects as well, MSC can provide administrative support and tools and capacity building to project participants. And a survey by University of Cape Town showed that stakeholder collaboration, relationships between stakeholders in the Fish for Good pathway project, they can improve as the project went on. Importantly, these projects can enable sustainable improvements in participating fisheries and also have the potential to impact a wider scale on general fisheries management. So if anybody has any ideas for potential pathway projects, please get in touch with me and we can see if we can put together a proposal for potential funders. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to introduce Tetsu Sato to deliver our last 12 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Japan and I'm working in Lake Malawi right now. And it says signed out. Okay, just got that one. Okay, thanks. And now I'm talking about what I call collaborative, transdisciplinary collaborative leadership for collective actions toward sustainable small-scale fisheries. And then the story is based on a case study in Lake Malawi National Park. Transdisciplinary collaborative leadership is, of course, reflecting the idea of transdisciplinary science. And the transdisciplinary research is capable of creating various collective actions for the community-based innovations in a Riparian village of Lake Malawi. Why transdisciplinary? Because of the weakness of the problem. The problems facing small-scale fisheries are quite complex and weak, so that there is no solution derived from the conventional discipline-based sciences, and needs solution-oriented research framing driven by challenge itself facing small-scale fisheries. and adaptive process has to be promoted. And in all these aspects are well reflected in transdisciplinary research. So I have been working on these 3 consecutive transdisciplinary research projects. And today we are focusing on the second and third one. And I'm trying to coin the idea of transdisciplinary collaborative leadership to mobilize various types of collective actions to improve the sustainability of the small-scale fisheries. This is a kind of leadership, of a kind of group leadership, composed of the local innovators in this case, Beach Village Committee, that is a managing body of local communities in Lake Malawi and Malawi area, and the knowledge translator, who is a very innovative young guy in this village, who can reach the different epistemological communities, and then scientists like myself. So that my co-author in this talk is the leader of the Beach Village Committee and the knowledge translator, John Matuele, and myself. And we have a kind of experience-based local knowledge and scientific knowledge well merged to create new knowledge set through these transdisciplinary processes. And we are quite successful in co-creating visions and approaches and producing tangible collective actions with social ecological impact for sustainable small-scale fisheries. So that I really wanted to tell you a story about how can this transdisciplinary collaborative leadership be effective for sustainability of small-scale fisheries, based on the case study in Lake Malawi. And I want to emphasize trust-based collaborations by these 3 leaders in this particular case to co-design research framing driven by the ideas of new collective actions to create the new fishing ground artificially. And the idea stimulated the curiosity of all participants, including myself, and iterated dialogue among us was mediated by local knowledge translators and collective actions to co-create a new type of a kind of fish aggregating devices that is called Chilundu, was mobilized, and mutual learning was stimulated throughout these processes to strengthen leadership and co-creating broader impacts of the actions. This is a place of our study site, our action site actually. This is a Lake Malawi National Park that is World Natural Heritage Site. And we know this is scientific idea. We know that local fishermen utilize these protruding log outcrops from the flat bottom to catch fishes, the planktivorous fishes that gather to these rock protrusions because of the upwelling current. This is the kind of scientific knowledge we know very commonly happening in Lake Malawi. And then we understood that these Beach Village Committee people, small-scale fishers, have totally different idea of the practices of the fishermen in other regions, which use the branches of trees to attract fishes as a hiding place. So that we started to have a reiterated dialogue between us, and we could identify that the Beach Village Committee in Madoti Hamlet in this village having imminent challenges, including fish catch decline, the fishing ground becomes further and further, and so that they have a kind of idea of constructing this artificial Chilundu and make it near the shore. It's a really innovative idea from this community. They really want it very near to the village because it is easy to manage, easy to monitor, and probably most importantly, it can create an opportunity of subsistence fisheries for the most vulnerable sector families in the village. And for scientists, this is ridiculous because this is only a flat bottom in a very shallow water. We don't see any impacts of creating artificial fishing reef. We didn't expect much more impact. And then we came up after the repeated dialogue, this kind of ideas. First of all, this is a combination of scientific ideas and local knowledge. We produce rock outcrop by filing stones on the bottom and dumping in the mango trees, branches of mango trees to provide hiding places. And also the idea came from the beach village community people to dump in the old dugout canoe to produce a spawning ground for big catfish. And this was the products of this dialogue from different people. And then, of course, this is a national park area. We have to consult to the National Park Authorization to decide the places. And the places happen to be quite near to the underwater protected area. That has a very significant impact later afterwards. But anyway, all needed materials are locally available, and they are dumped into the water at a particular place. And then the outcome was spectacular. This is a fast catch. People are so happy with catching quite valuable commercial fish, and these are faces of happy people. And we could confirm that 200 meters away from this structure, there is no catch at all. And then, of course, we could also dive and observe these fishes that is hovering. These are also commercially important species. And then this structure was created in 2019, and still it exists with minimum maintenance effort and producing amazingly nice impacts of continuous, relatively big catch. Sometimes we can get 40 liters of utaka, that is a small plankton of fishes that is of commercial value. And more importantly, probably the side effect, byproduct is the conservation impact. This structure to provide quite nice habitat for the highly conservation fishes with high conservation values, that is processed fish for the World Heritage Site. And then also we could observe large catfish, very important commercial fishes spawning in this particular habitat, and they are creating huge amount of siblings that with high survival rate. And that was amazing example of resource enhancement by artificial fishing reef. And then the most importantly, the societal impact was amazing. This process stimulated everyone's curiosity, and people in the villages are all interested in these type of practices, and mobilized another corrective actions emerging among the local people to create new chilundu, another chilundu, artificial chilundu in this village. And this GBC, the Madochi hamlet, started to play a role of the knowledge center about this type of structure, so that they are teaching other fishermen and the folk villagers about these interesting structures and their impacts. And eventually, we believe that transdisciplinary collaborative leadership as an enabler of social ecological transformation, it is transforming the community, because this is a kind of legitimate leadership based on integration of different knowledge set and values and visions, and trust-based network with other fishers, village leaders, and scientists have been created to produce tangible values of this artificial structure. And co-creation and adaptive implement of corrective action is ongoing for sustainable small-scale fisheries to enhancement of human well-being and conservation impacts. And eventually, this is the last slide. I just wanted to emphasize that it is not me, but the important person is community-based innovators like the Madochi, the BBC leaders and knowledge translators. They have a lot of barriers and obstacles for transforming or creating actions to transform the community. But these innovators have demonstrated their leadership to break through these barriers, and they have overcome the difficulties to transform the society, and we are learning from. So I am so happy to learn from these community-based innovations. Thank you very much.
You know, just really appreciate everybody's attention to time. It's quite impressive. Let me just stop this here. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left. Okay. Yes. 5 speakers. Please, there's time to chat. Please keep your questions short and direct. So we open up the floor. Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Sorry, I'm Master Correct from Malawi. Yeah. What I got from you is how does the transdisciplinary sense of the sense? Yes.
Is a process of creating research ideas, research framing, and knowledge. You gather with kind and stakeholders. So that it is a kind of interdisciplinary with the collaboration, different areas from different. So that are people having a so this is just giving and I think that one component of this because from the body from to walking your research. So that in that case, I don't think that is the only evidence in so there are another component is part.
Thank you very much. The second one, as for the same speaker, can you give us some information?
I will come back. Your colleagues. Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much, first for the presentation. I've got a question to Martin. Sort of the community catch sounds interesting. I know that the content links to other generated methods. Yes. Can you speak up, please? Do you have a system of what you use to cause and then how does your certification work? How does it work? Do you give them a logo to show that the market can trust that product?
Okay, thanks for the question, Science. Yes, it's the standard is still under development. I'm part of a steering group that is helping with that process. It's a large advisory group that includes people from government, from business, from fishery science, and from setting, so and social audits. So it's a process that's still underway, but the idea would be that yes, it's very much about stepwise improvements as part of the process. Obtain certification and similar to some of the existing standards, there might be conditions or some way that benchmarks improvements over time. And importantly, there will be encouragement from the market. Talked about affordability, so that's a very important component. So yes, on your first question, is certainly component of the community catch program. The plan is to do some pilot fisheries towards the end of this year and then early next year, trial the current standard. And that standard is not finalized yet. And we're hoping to launch the full standard by sometime next year. And then it will be a certification standard with probably an eco label attached to it, and that would be a visible way of ensuring that there's an activity and standard in the market.
Would the question related to this, Nangas?
Yes.
Okay, Andrew, thanks. I saw that you have partner project, I think what you call it, so that. And then related to that, I've seen that you still have a lot of projects. I remember the time when it was, I was at the Nepal, some of this. Tanzania, then the same one where I'm going to so long to
Answering the first question, the pathway projects have those 4 stages. And the 4th stage is the implementation stage of the fishery. So, first stage is gathering information, doing the pre-assessment, developing action plan, and then the 4th stage is action. So the pathway projects are going out and basically working with fisheries in the region, fisheries in the works, and then as the process goes on, fisheries that really want to become certified when they implement concept to use programs like the program, and that accelerates things. In terms of the project, the Southwest Innovation, I think that project's scheduled project start in 2017, and there were some in that region before them, and so then the pre-assessments were updated and those fisheries. The funding that we got from KAZA was to take pre-assessments to develop action plans, and we're still looking for funding to try and take that further to the implementation of the fishery projects. And one of the slides I was there to show us that South Madagascar fishery, we mentioned saying put that action plan and on their own, put on the own. So other steps in that region are more less formal. People are working on improvements, but they're not fishery programs, but all structure.
You have a question?
Yeah, thank you so much. My question goes to Amos. I love you, Randy.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in the application. How many of them are doing a 2.5 a form of film? Are you ready to supply your product?
Okay. All right, so very interesting question. The application 100% ready. Like I mentioned, there is a customization aspect. So what we do is we speak to whoever has an interest in the application, and then we can incorporate the nitty-gritty into the application, and then we provide that to you. Obviously within a short time frame, depending on what you need. As we speak, we already have different associations or organizations using that. So within the New Zealand space, Australia, Canada, the USA, the United Kingdom, and in South Africa, we have some form of the application being used. Again, we will be available to take the conversation further and see what is in there.
Thank you.
Your transboundary issue is here in China. And you
transdisciplinary between us. Counseling communication around this. So the teachers are also likely and so so this idea how they community can also let us know that probably some example collaboration. Can you explain very before the interaction around more teachers?
Thank you very much for that question. Under the umbrella of the fisheries management, the activities that are made at slightly higher level incorporates the community participation in the management aspects. However, the approach in terms of managing the fishery resources are one that is compatible, and it makes everything difficult to manage. Yes.
I know this cannot think that how the people respond to this.
Fisheries in this whole arrangement are willing to collaborate. Yes, but the free riding activities are the ones that dispose everything because of the compatible management approach.
Just wait, anybody else here? Yes.
Just one question for I am curious to know what it was taken. How do you choice to open the schools of education? It's not when they are still rules state. Because in other way, it's about the same open. But it's like a swing. Like to know more about.
Okay, so thanks for the question. It's a very complex issue, the clash between industrial fisheries and small fisheries. You know, there's no single answer. I prefer, from my perspective, that industrial fisheries don't come into the economic zones at all of that's not the reality. I think there's lots of opportunity for countries like Madagascar to take more control of their own resources, self-develop their own scale fisheries. Because some small scale fisheries operate further than 200 miles offshore and still catch tuna and Japan. There's some of those follow line fisheries operating small vessels to the limits of their economic zones. There's opportunities out there, and it's certainly not very productive to rent out your resource, the industrial fisheries, because we've seen very few economic returns actually coming back to those.
We have 2 minutes left. You managed to sneak in 2 questions. There we go. Please go ahead. But it only going to be 1. Okay.
That second in this case, instead of saying that's rather maybe go and go and finally the small size less one actually and find a way
It's certainly possible, and you know, it's disrupting the current system. I really believe in disruption is the way to go. Some of the small scale fisheries in Madagascar, for instance, supply fresh elephant to local retailers in South Africa, very high value markets. Instead of that happening, yellowfin tuna is imported from all over the world, from other fisheries. But if you maintain the quality at these small scale fisheries, then really there's lots of opportunity. I've seen small scale fisheries in Indonesia, looking after the quality of their and for yellowfin tuna, and they access to the top markets in Japan, Sato, Sakimi,